Hello and welcome to another episode of Life in Rural Japan. On this episode, I'd like to talk about the new banknotes Japan has just introduced. So they introduced at the beginning of July these new notes. So we have a new 1,000, a 5,000 and a 10,000 yen note. Now they made these new notes. So let's have a bit of a look at the pros and cons about them. So the pros, they've made them so they're a bit more secure and not as easy to counterfeit. So the new security features on them, they have a hologram embedded into the note. Also, they're using a new paper. Now, to make the paper, they import this plant material from Nepal to make the notes, so it's harder to make the paper, so which will make them more difficult to counterfeit. Why people want to counterfeit the yen has got me beat. It's not worth anything at the moment anyway. You'd be better off counterfeiting US dollars if you want to do that. But anyway, another pro is on the notes, the numbers are written bigger, so it's easier for old people and visually impaired people to read. I also think it makes it easier for visitors. Now a lot of visitors are coming to Japan, so it probably makes it easier for them to be able to tell what, how much the money is worth. Anyway, so let's have a bit of a look at the cons. Now, introducing these banknotes costs a hell of a lot of money. You've got the design to make the templates. You got the production. You got distribution. They have to fix up all the ATMs and cash handling machines to be able to read these new notes. Now that's one problem. Now the biggest problem is the vending machines. In Japan there's over 4.1 million vending machines. So they sell everything in vending machines. A lot of vending machines are on the street and they sell drinks. So there's drink machines everywhere. Now a lot of drink machines will take 1,000 yen note. So these machines aren't going to be able to read the new note. So they have to have their machines, new parts put in them. Now this can cost anything between $1,000 and $3,000 to have the machines updated. So really the only people going to make a lot of money out of these is the vending machine companies. Now that's one problem with the drink machines. Now the biggest problem is restaurants. Many restaurants who have a high turnover and sell sort of cheap and affordable meals like ramen and these sort of things, their ramen and that's very cheap. It goes from about 500 yen to 800 yen. They really can't sell it much over 1,000 yen. People won't pay that much money for it. Now these vending machines, when you go into these restaurants, you put your money in, you choose what you want, you press your button, you get your change and you get a little ticket. Now you take your ticket up to the counter, you give your ticket in and they prepare your meal and then a waitress will bring your meal to the table. Now a lot of these restaurants, they do this system with these vending machines because it can save them a lot of money. They don't have to pay for waitresses, as many waitresses, and they don't have to pay for cashiers because they're not making that much money on the things. With prices of food going up like flour and different things, power and all, they're making very little profit. One restaurant fellow was saying he would have to sell 6,000 bowls of ramen to be able to pay for one machine. So I think a lot of these little companies are going to go broke because they just can't actually afford to buy these machines. So what do? They have to employ more staff and then they can't really afford to pay more staff. So it's really going to be very difficult for a lot of these little restaurants. Also places like convenience stores, supermarkets. Now very few of these stores you actually pay the cashier. There's usually a machine and then you put your money into the machine and it will give you your change. You very rarely pay the people anymore. Or if you do, you give your money to the person, they'll put it into the machine and it will automatically give them the change and they give it to you. There's very little where the cashier has to actually do the work. So all these machines have to be redone too. Now at restaurants, let's go back to the restaurants, to have a new machine at a restaurant repaired, if they can repair them, it's going to cost about $5,000 to repair the machine. If they can't repair the machine, they have to buy a new machine. It's going to cost anything around 2 million yen, which is about $13,000. Now, a lot of these little restaurants and that just can't afford to pay this. Anyway, I thought we'd have a bit of a talk with a Japanese man and see what his thoughts are on this. So let's have a bit of a talk with him. Okay, so we're just going to ask a Japanese man what are his thoughts on the new Japanese banknotes. Okay, so what do you think about them?
I don't really like it. I just only saw the 1,000 yen note the other day, but I don't like the design really.
Okay.
It doesn't seem like a traditional Japanese design.
Yeah.
It's more like a internationally recognizable design.
I think maybe because there's a lot of tourists coming to Japan at the moment,
think so,
maybe,
yeah.
And they got the numbers bigger, so it's easy for older people and visually impaired people to read what denomination it is.
Yeah.
But do you think they were needed, or do you think it's just another way the government's wasting money?
I mean, wasting money.
Yeah.
That's a waste of money, definitely.
Yeah. So,
or maybe they try to create some jobs for people they like, I
yeah.
guess.
I heard to make the notes, they're getting the material to make the paper from Nepal. So they're growing it in Nepal and then importing it into Japan, which seems a lot of expense. And also I've heard all the vending machines are no good anymore. They have to...
Yeah, they have to create new vending machines.
Yeah.
I mean, new notes creates a lot of jobs.
Yeah.
Which is good for a lot of people, but I don't think it's necessary since the ordinary people in Japan are struggling to make a living now.
I think it's going to do a lot of damage to the small restaurants who use the vending machines, so they don't have to pay staff like wait staff and cashiers.
Yeah.
So I think some of them are going to go belly up, because to buy a new machine it costs like 2 million yen. So one guy was saying he'd have to sell 6,000 bowls of ramen to pay for the machine.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Really?
I know. It's unbelievable, isn't it? So yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thanks for that.
Okay.
I appreciate it. Oh, well, that was interesting, having a talk with a Japanese man and his thoughts on the new notes. So I think his thoughts are very similar to mine. They weren't really needed at this point of time, with the economy how it is, and how everybody is having a hard time just surviving without spending extra money. So I think the big winners of this are going to be the vending machine people. The people who make vending machines and repair vending machines, I think they're going to have a good year. But I think other people like small restaurants and places like that are going to really be struggling. Anyway, that's all for this episode. So if you could please leave me some comments or your thoughts. Do you think it was really needed? Do you think the Japanese government really needed to introduce new notes at this time? I'd really appreciate it. Anyway, that's all for today. Till next time.